Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalam alaikum.
I just want to make a comment, Maulana. I don't think I can disagree with what you are saying. I think everybody is aware of what's happening. I just want to bring to the fore some things in addition to what you are saying. Recently, I was trying to figure out why it is that Henry Kissinger visits Trinidad and Tobago very quietly. Henry Kissinger. And then today, listening to Prime Minister Manning saying he's going to visit Israel to buy a boat. The Prime Minister of this country is going to Israel to buy a boat. And it's all part of what I would call weapons of mass deception. The anti-terrorism bill, for example, and the crime level in Trinidad and Tobago is all planned to create a police state in Trinidad and Tobago.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. This is beautiful. The crime situation in this country. The crime situation, the escalating crime situation in this country has as part of its agenda the creation of a police state. That's beautifully spoken, Faiz. Go ahead.
Problem is, I am concerned what the Muslims are going to do, because the solution lies with the Muslims. The problem is, we are divided, we are being encouraged to be divided. And we ourselves are playing a very important role in mashing up ourselves. I think that we have to, possibly this afternoon, in your session, we could possibly look at how we can be united. And that's common problem that we are facing. And to save the Trinidad and Tobago, we can't talk about mankind, because we're too small. But at least to set an example, how we can correct the situation. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Yes. Well spoken, Faiz. We have two things to do. We have to deliver a wake-up call. And yet we have to deliver the wake-up call in such a way that we don't offend people. Now that's an impossible task. I use the gentle language here today about the scholars of Islam, including Imran. May I take myself out? We either sleep in or we eat in halwa. I mean, that's gentle language. Eh? And you know what happened to me? I gave this lecture in a city called Perth in Australia. When I finished with the lecture, a fella get up and he hit me for a 6 in the bamboo. Yeah. Even though I use this gentle language. He said, Imran, your teacher Maulana Fadlur Rahman Ansari would not have spoken like that. And his teacher Maulana Abdul Alim Siddiqui would not have spoken like that. How could you talk like that? Man hit me for 6 in the bamboo. So it's a difficult thing. You have to deliver an effective wake-up call, particularly to the scholars of Islam. You've got to wake them up. I wish Mufti Shabir was alive today. I love that brother. You've got to wake them up. And yet, you have to try not to offend anyone. So if I'm failing by talking about halwa, you might probably have a better way to show me. But Faiz is correct. If we are to unite ourselves to respond appropriately, we have to first wake up the scholars of Islam, because these are the teachers of the community. I forgot to mention, we not only have Imtiaz in the gathering here, who has a tremendous amount of experience in this field, we also have Sister Razi at the back, and we're very grateful to have her here tonight. Any other questions or comments? Yes. Where's the microphone? Okay, go ahead.
I don't understand how come if I give somebody $2 per pound for a truckload of goods when he could have gotten it in the market for $3, right? I would call it a bargain from my point of view, that I got it for a better deal. How is that haram? Because you can look at it at, well, you know, you don't know, and you accept my offer for $2, so I get a cheaper price.
Okay. What happened was that he did not know the market price, but you knew the market price. and you exploited his ignorance of the market price to your advantage. In other words, you try a fast one on him. Because if you had waited only 5 minutes and he had entered the market, he'd never sell you for $2 a pound. Never. You exploited his ignorance of the market price to deceive him. A transaction based on deception, which yielded a profit or a gain greater than that to which you were justly entitled. That's the elegant way of saying it. A transaction based on deception, which yielded a profit or a gain greater than that to which you were justly entitled. Riba. But the Americans have a pretty way to call it. The Americans say, you rip off the man. That's what happened. It was a rip-off. The Quran says, لا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل. Don't rip off each other. Don't rip off each other. لا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل إلا أن تكون تجارة عن تراض منكم. Rather, business transactions should try to achieve mutual satisfaction. So when the man brings his car and give it to you to repair the car, it was only a fuse that bad, you know. You could have changed the fuse with $2. But you tell the man, is the whole crankshaft gone? It go take 3 days to repair this car. I go try to give you in 3 days. I don't know if I could do it. And you go have to pay $5,000. Good? When you get to know what the man did to you, you will never want to go back to do business with him. You will never be able to win Indonesia for Islam, and win Malaysia and Singapore for Islam, and win China for Islam if you do business that way. But if you go to the man with your car, and he repairs the car for you, and he does a good job, and he charges you a fair price, and you are satisfied with the work done, and he is satisfied with the money he receives, then even if you leave San Fernando and you're going to live Santa Cruz, you're still coming back San Fernando to his garage. Because you have trust between you. If you could trust a man with business, you could trust him with your heart and the God that you worship. That's how we won Indonesia to Islam. So we do not engage in business transactions which involve deception. Any other? Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. I want to say this on behalf of some of the scholars. You see, the position was somewhat what is being offered is this. They say that we are living in a time in which the economy is what it is. So we can't do otherwise, and therefore we have to accept that this what we call is dirar. You know, is dirar. So it's a case of we can't help it. So therefore, that is why I think some of them have given the fatwa that it is halal, you see, or that it's no sin. What do you comment on this?
You cannot take something which is haram and declare it to be halal. No. A mufti came to my home in New York. A young man full of vigor, bubbling with enthusiasm. And he's an expert on riba, Pakistani mufti. So I asked the mufti about the paper money. I said, Mufti, haram? Paper is haram? Mufti replied to me, you say, how we could tell the people haram when we have it in my pocket? That was his enlightened and sophisticated response. How we go tell the people haram when we have it in our pocket? Sheikh Ali Mustafa has asked us to look at a situation where you can't do better. And you have to apply the doctrine of necessity, darura. Yes, there are situations where you have no food to eat. And you're going to die if you don't eat. In such a situation, if the only food that is available to eat to stay alive is pork, the pork is still haram. It don't become halal, you know. At no time does pork become halal. It is still haram. But you are allowed to eat it in this situation to stay alive. In other words, it has to be a situation of grave distress before you can apply the doctrine of necessity. But I lived in the United States for a long time, you know. And I saw the doctrine of necessity applied in the United States. Man, them fellas and them full the plate with pork. And when they eat in the pork, they're licking the fingers. It tasted nice. And they're calling the neighbors to come and eat pork too. I saw it with my own eyes. Not like the Egyptian fellow. He said, Maulana, I had to go and borrow money and interest for a house. But I want to take you for a drive. This is in the city of Worcester, close to Boston. And he took me in the car to show me the little house he bought. He said, I buy the smallest house I could buy. It looking like Shantytown used to look, small. He said, Maulana, I put the minimum pork on the plate. But look at the others now. Plate full of pork. And they're enjoying the pork. This man is uncomfortable living in this little house, praying for the day he could get out of riba. But them eating pork with the plate full, and they're losing no sleep at all over it. And you're supposed to eat the pork only when food is not available. If you hear it have food in Debe, you stop eating the pork and go Debe to get food. But no, they signed in contract for 30 years. I hereby pledge myself to eat pork for 30 years. Yeah. That is not the application of the doctrine of necessity. You're making joke. You're playing joke. You're playing games with the truth in Islam. But where there is a genuine case of the application of the doctrine of necessity, yes, it can be applied. Jamal Badawi, eminent scholar of Islam, may Allah bless this brother of ours. Jamal and I sat down together, put our heads together, and we said, a man have 10 children in New York, and the lease on the apartment coming to an end, and the landlord said, me renewing this lease at all. I make a mistake. I didn't know you had 10. I thought you had 2 children. So the lease coming to an end. And he had no way to carry family. And when he go elsewhere to try to rent, nobody ain't prepared to rent to a man with 10 children. He turned to the community. He said, I had to sleep on the road. Nobody there to help him. He even have enough money to buy a ticket to leave the country. So Jamal said, and I recognize the wisdom of my brother, in a situation such as this, that man is justified of invoking the doctrine of necessity, provided that he put the minimum pork on.
Yeah. And then today, listening to Prime Minister Manning saying he's going to visit Israel to buy a boat. The Prime Minister of this country is going to Israel to buy a boat. And it's all part of what I would call weapons of mass deception. The anti-terrorism bill, for example, and the crime level in Trinidad and Tobago is all planned to create a police state in Trinidad and Tobago. And that's common problem that we are facing. And to save the Trinidad and Tobago, we can't talk about mankind, but we're too small. But at least to set an example how we can correct the situation. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Yes. Well spoken, Faiz. We have two things to do. We have to deliver a wake-up call. And MashaAllah, MashaAllah, this is beautiful. The crime situation in this country, the crime situation, the escalating crime situation in this country has as part of its agenda the creation of a police state. That's beautifully spoken, Faiz. Go ahead. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
I just want to make a comment, Maulana. I don't think I can disagree with what you are saying. I think everybody is aware of what's happening. I just want to bring to the fore some things in addition to what you are saying. Recently, I was trying to figure out why it is that Henry Kissinger visits Trinidad and Tobago very quietly. Henry Kissinger. Problem is, I am concerned what the Muslims are going to do, because the solution lies with the Muslims. The problem is, we are divided. We are being encouraged to be divided. And we ourselves are playing a very important role in mashing up ourselves. I think that we have to, possibly this afternoon, in your session, we could possibly look at how we can be united